Lads, welcome back to another combo tutorial. I am Christian from Fusion YGO, and today I'm going to be showing you my version of Scrap Orcust. And here is just an example of the kind of boards that this deck can end on, and there is actually more to this board than meets the eye. There's still plenty of interaction left with this, and of course you can't forget the 2 Fog Blade in the back row. So, let's go ahead and clean this up, and do a combo tutorial for you guys. So with this deck, there's not really any just like combos that I can show you specifically. Everything is very dependent on what you draw in your hand. So to do this combo tutorial today, I'm just gonna have to go through some test hands with you guys and show you kind of how to pilot the deck and how to get to the end board as consistently as possible. So we'll get our opening 5 cards here, since this now is a going first strategy. And looks like we're actually going to open up pretty decent here. So we got the Jizakuru, Scrap Chimera, Scrap Recycler, Scrap Golem, and Urgent Schedule. I know this seems like a brick hand since we're going first, and we have 2 going second cards plus a Scrap Golem, and then a Scrap Chimera that's totally useless right now. But we did open a combo piece, and that is all we need to get going, and this Urgent Schedule and Scrap Golem are actually both going to be helpful, even though they look like bricks. So let's go ahead and get started with the combo here. We're going to normal summon our Scrap Recycler to go ahead and send to the graveyard. In this situation, we are actually going to go for Machina Fortress because we have that Jizakuru in our hand, which is serving no other purpose at this point in time, and it helps us play around Artifact Lancia as well as fills our graveyard with machine levels to be able to use it for our Ruin Force later. So we're going to summon Fortress by discarding that Jizakuru, and we can now link 2 into our Scrap Wyvern. This is where the play gets really nice because all we have to do is set that Urgent Schedule, activate Scrap Wyvern's effect, summon back out Recycler, pop it with the Scrap Wyvern, and then activate Scrap Wyvern's second effect, which will allow us to special summon another Fridge from the deck. We do kind of have to be careful about some zone placements here. I always have to remind myself with this version that it's better to build on the left side. So we're actually going to want to have the Scrap Wyvern over here instead of on the right, and it does make sense later. So now that we have the Scrap Golem, we do have to pop a card on the field, so we'll pop our Urgent Schedule with the Wyvern, and on resolution, we can now activate the Urgent Schedule's effect to search for a level 10 machine monster. We actually have a couple of options in this case. We could go for Citadel, but we're actually going to go for the Heavy Freight Train Darrowcrane just because it can summon itself. And granted, the Citadel could have as well by using, well, it could have summoned itself, but the Fortress could have discarded it to summon himself again. But, you know, I mean, either pick would have been honestly fine. I'm just going to go for the Darrowcrane in this instance. And the reason I prefer Darrowcrane in this situation over Citadel is because it's a target I don't feel bad about banishing off of Ruin Force. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and activate our Scrap Golem's effect now to go and revive that Recycler. And then it's going to go Chainlink 1 Recycler, Chainlink 2 Darrowcrane, helps us chain block. Not that it's really needed this late in the combo, but it is what it is. So we'll summon out the Darrowcrane, and then Recycler's effect will resolve so we can dump another machine. And at this point in time, we are going to promptly send World Legacy, World Wand, so that way we have our Lib Axis online, and we have a key starter piece for the Orcust lines. So now what we can actually do in this scenario, I think is going to be a really cool line. We can actually link 4 here. We're not at all respecting the Nibiru, and that's fine. We're going to summon Saryuja. Since we did so with 3 materials, we can special summon from our hand, which means we can just special summon out that Scrap Golem for free. So we'll do that, and then we can use him to revive that Scrap Recycler and get another dump off of him. And this time we're going to send Orcust Nightmare, so just in case our opponent does do anything like hit us with a Nibiru or anything to try and stop us, we have at least a follow-up play. I know it's a little bit late at this point in the game, but, you know, sometimes it comes up. Alrighty, so now in this situation we're going to use our Golem and our Recycler to go into our Codebreaker combo, summoning Virus Swordsman right below the Saryuja to co-link it, and then activating Virus Swordsman's effect, since he is co-linked, summon Zero Day from deck. Then we immediately use these guys for link 3 to go into our Virus Berserker. Virus Berserker, co-linked with the Saryuja once again, can activate his effect, reviving the Virus Swordsman and the Zero Day. So now with all these monsters on field, we can actually use the Zero Day and the Swordsman to link 3 into Bardiche, and I am specifically putting him over here, and there is a very important reason for that we'll get to here in a minute. We'll activate Bardiche's first effect to dump a Phantom Knights monster and set a Speller Trap. So we'll dump Ancient Cloak and set our first Fog Blade. Then we'll follow up by banishing the Ancient Cloak to go ahead and search our deck for Boots. And now that we have boots, we actually can special summon him. And in this case, we're actually going to use the Daracrane and the boots because we haven't used our Lib yet to go ahead and summon her out. And then we're going to activate her effect now to go ahead and set a World Legacy Succession from the deck. There we go. There's our copy of Succession. And since we do control a World Legacy monster in the graveyard, we are able to activate it this turn. So what we're actually going to do here to make ourselves some arrows, we're going to use the Lib and the Berserker to go ahead and go into our Nightmare Griffin. Since we don't really have any Speller Traps that we're worried about getting back, we can actually just go ahead and not even worry about using his effect and try to co-link him. So, that being said, now we can activate our World Legacy Succession. We're going to summon our Scrap Golem to one of Griffin's arrows, and then we'll use our Scrap Golem to then revive our Scrap Recycler. And since Scrap Recycler is still linked, we are able to use his effect as well to go ahead and dump. So this time, just to get a couple of extra extenders, we are actually going to dump the Ruin Force, since we can use them a couple of different times, and we don't have ourselves an Appaloosa yet. So, we've got to fix that problem right now. Let's go ahead and figure out what we're going to banish here. I know this might seem like a waste of levels, but we're going to banish the Daracrane and the Fortress. And the reason I'm banishing the Fortress is because, well, it's easy enough to get it back in deck, and I also can recycle it with the Ruin Force as well if he gets destroyed. So, now we have 4 monsters here that we can use. We'll just use up that Star Uja because he doesn't really matter much. And just to make sure that everything stays linked, we'll keep our Appaloosa above here, so that way everything here is linked and good to go, so we don't have to worry about anybody not getting their effects. And then we still have an arrow left over here and down here with a Fortigate Appaloosa, a Nightmare Griffin, and we still haven't even done our Orcust combo yet. So, to finish that up, actually, let's go ahead and banish the boots before I forget, so that we can get that Fog Blade back here. There we go, there's our second Fog Blade. And we'll just go ahead and set it right now, because it doesn't really matter. So, now to finish up with the Orcust line here, let's go ahead and use our Orcust Nightmare to target the Appaloosa. It doesn't really matter. We just need to get Symbol Skeleton into rotation here. To summon the Orcust Nightmare back to the field, don't need to worry about it being in an arrow. Alright, and now with Symbol Skeleton in the graveyard, before we do anything else, we're actually going to summon out Ruin Force once again by banishing the Symbol Skeleton and the Jizakuru. The reason I'm doing this is because immediately after that, we are allowed to go ahead and banish our World Wand to summon back that Symbol Skeleton, which now gives us full Galatea access. And we still haven't even used the Symbol Skeleton effect. So we'll go ahead and link those two off to go into Galatea here. Doesn't really matter where you put her. I like putting her here because this is where the Dingirsu is going to go anyways. So let's go ahead and activate Galatea's effect. We are actually just going to shuffle back the Fortress, because we do have a second World Wand in the deck currently until we find our third Girsu, so don't really need that too much. And now that we shuffled that back, we can go and grab ourselves a Babel. I'm just going to activate it immediately, so I'm not going to worry about setting it. And then from here on out, now we really have everything we need. Like, there's not much left of this combo. We're pretty well done and set on this build. So all we have to do now is just turn our Galatea into a Dingirsu, activate Dingirsu's effect to attach, and in this case, we're just going to reattach the Nightmare to give us more plays during our opponent's turn. Given that if they do anything to try to destroy any of the cards in our field, we can use Dingirsu to protect. They might even try to Kaiju over the Dingirsu. That does happen. But if nothing else, if anything happens, Nightmare will get to the graveyard, and then we can use it to potentially boost up our Appaloosa and just do some silly shenanigans. So there's actually quite a bit of interaction here, and I'm going to show you guys what that is. So obviously you have 4 monster negates on Appaloosa, and Nightmare Griffin himself is a Floodgate, as any monster special that is special summoned can only activate its effects if it's linked. So right now, all of these monsters are fully free to activate their effects because they are all currently linked. And if you're going first, your opponent hasn't set up anything, they're only going to have 1 arrow to work with until they start doing things. So if they need to special summon for effects, they only have 1 arrow to do it. You have an Appaloosa to negate it, as well as 2 Fogblade in the back row if something happens. So the reason this board is so strong is really because the only way to truly out it is with an evenly matched, because this board cannot negate an evenly matched, but you'll get past all the protection, because Dingirsu will protect anything. If they try to Lightning Storm me, if they try to Raigeki me, you know, whatever. This board is protected against that because the Dingirsu can detach 2 materials to protect all of my cards twice. And then if they happen to destroy again, sure, I'll lose everything, but then I can always just summon back with Symbol Skeleton. and get my Dingirsu back, reattach a material, or send something to the graveyard. There's tons of interaction here. And of course, if I do summon back my Dingirsu and Bardiche is still on the field, well, then there you go. I can get a send and a pop, or I can get an extra material and a pop, so that way I can protect my board even further and keep my opponent off their resources. So this, as you guys can see, this combo is absolutely insane. There's so many different ways to get into this spot. There are even occasions where you can end up with an IP Masquerena, or if you're going second, you can do different lines where you get Underworld Goddess to kaiju a monster on their field, or access code to go for game. So I am actually kind of debating on cutting this IP anyways and putting a Boral Sword back in here, so do keep that in mind. I thought about the Saryuja at one point, but after what you guys just saw, where I was able to bring out the second Golem from hand, it is not at all a bad choice to keep in the deck. So guys, let me know what you think of this deck down in the comments below. If there's any changes you think I need to make, or any way you think you could play it better, feel free to let me know. I'm always down to hear your guys' ideas and see what you think about all this. So that is all I got for you today, lads. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, good fun. Have luck.
Made me feel like I was safe and sound, and switched up and switched off the safety. How we playing?